Go ahead and start with the first question. I believe we have Kevin Kinder with Blue and Gold News. Kevin, if you would, please unmute and ask your question.
It's kind of a different alignment and lineups that you had to put out there today. Did that, contribute to some of the turnover, some of the passing issues that you had?
No, I don't think so. They did a good job getting in the passing lanes. I don't think the lineups had anything to do with it. Actually, we downsized, so it should have been better.
With that, I'm going to turn to Justin Jackson. Justin, if you would please unmute and ask your question.
Coach, obviously on both sides, this became a sort of a three-point shooting contest. Just trying to defend against that style of play, that flow of the game. Can you just talk about the back and forth of it, the difficulties of trying to defend the style of play like that?
Well, I thought we kind of did a pretty good job getting back in the game, and then I think we took a 2-point lead, and then we kept switching when we shouldn't have switched. We needed to keep the same guy, the same defender on their best player, and we kept switching and kept saying stop switching, and we still kept switching, which is I think we switched it a little bit. Took a look at switching a little bit in practice yesterday, but we shouldn't have switched it.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to Grant Flood. Grant, if you could please unmute and ask your question. Grant? All right. Next, we will go ahead and go to Cody Nesport. Cody?
Coach, you've talked about it all season, but just what Gabe does, on both sides of the floor. I mean, is it hard for us, not knowing the game plan and not knowing the ins and outs, to really appreciate everything that he does?
Well, I think it's hard for most people to appreciate everything he does. He keeps balls alive for us. He stops penetration. We've had a hard time all year, as I'm sure you're aware of, staying in front of our man. And Gabe really does a great job of stopping penetration. So he's the key to our defense. He's the last resort. He does a lot of things. We're not near as good a basketball team without him.
Grant Flood, I'm going to try one more time. If you would like to ask your question, please unmute. If anyone else has questions, please make sure to raise your hand. Thank you. Grant?
Yes, thank you. Hey, Coach, I'm Grant Flood from Insider Institute. It was a nail-biting second half. However, your team only had one block shot throughout the game. Do you think this was the key factor towards the loss?
No, I don't know. We're not going to block jump shots from 15 feet and out. So they shot the ball really well. Buddy shot the ball extremely well. He had a stretch where I think he made 3 consecutive threes that really when we were ahead and we tried to catch up from then on. They didn't really. They stopped taking it to the basket. The shot blocking didn't have anything to do with it today. It has before, but not today.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to go to Mike Kazaza. Mike, please unmute and ask your question.
Hey, Bob. Derek recovered within the second half of that last game after his anxious start. Did you see similar things today, or was there another explanation for maybe what held him back, or maybe what Syracuse did to him to hold himself back?
we were struggling to guard him, and Gabe is our best inside defender. And Derek was they were double teaming Derek, and we just didn't our timing of getting the ball inside to him wasn't very good, and so Gabe does a much better job defensively, and Gabe rebounds it pretty much as well as Derek has. So if you go by minutes played, anyway, we're trying to win, man. Just trying to win.
Next, we're going to go to Gregory Carey. Gregory, if you could please unmute and ask your question.
Bob, what do you most attribute the slow start today to? Was it kind of adjusting to that zone? And, why do you think the first 10 or 12 minutes of the game went as poorly as they did?
I think we ran what we needed to run. We just didn't score it. I mean, how many shots inside of 3-4 feet did we miss to start the game? And they had a lot to do with that. But I mean, you catch it and going at the basket from 3 or 4 feet, we ought to make one. We didn't make any. And then they shot it extremely well. They shot it. Seemed like everything they shot up went in, and they shot it from deep, and we just we wanted to make them bounce it, and we didn't. We let them get too many step-in shots.
All right, we're going to go to Ethan Bach. Ethan, please unmute and ask your question.
Hey, Coach. With all the adversity you guys have dealt with this year with COVID and then departures, what will you remember the most about this group of guys?
Well, they're good people. It's what I just told them in the locker room. They're as good a people as I've had the privilege of being around in all of my years of coaching. They're really good guys. They're good guys. They care about each other. They really are a team. I think I remember just how good of people that they were and will continue to be, I'm sure.
All right, we're going to go back to Justin Jackson for another question. Justin, please unmute.
Coach, Syracuse center Dolce, I think he played like maybe the last 12 minutes with the 4 fouls. Strange though that I guess maybe with Gabe, kind of trade defense for offense there, but I mean the fact that he couldn't get challenged for that 5th foul, frustrating at all, or?
Well, I mean, quite frankly, we couldn't score it in there. They did a great job of gang guarding us when we threw it into whichever guy we threw it into, be it Gabe or be it Derek.
Yeah.
They gang guarded them, and we didn't do a very good job of playing inside out with it. We made bad decisions with the ball. With that part of it, and so that wasn't really our issue, I don't think, Justin. I think our issue was we stopped guarding for a short period of time. They made 3 threes, I believe it was, and so all of a sudden it goes from a tie game to them up 9.
All right, next we're going to go back to Cody Nestor. Cody, please unmute and ask your question. Following that, we'll have one more question.
Coach, for as long as you've known Coach Boeheim, I mean, does it surprise you at all that he's able to take a team that was, a bubble team and make a run to the Sweet 16?
No, and he's got good players. He's got good players. He had good players. It's just it took some time for them to gel together. I think it took some time to understand what he was asking them to do. You don't just roll out of bed and play 2-3 zone the way they do. He's the best that's ever coached the 2-3 zone. and they're the best to ever play it. Syracuse is the best to ever play the 2-3 zone. So I mean, it you know, it's everybody wants it to happen like right now. It doesn't work like that, and he did a terrific job.
Last question for you, Coach, is coming again from Kevin Kinder. Kevin.
Coach, you've mentioned in the past about taking so much energy to rally, dig yourself out of holes. Is that a factor again today with the defensive lapse you mentioned and down the stretch?
No, I don't think so, Kevin. I that's not the way I saw it. We switched and we shouldn't have switched. I mean, plain and simple. We wanted size on Buddy, and we switched size off of him, and he shot it over top of us and made 3 threes. And I think it went from a tie score to us being down 9. And he couldn't do that when we had length on him. We bothered him when we had length on him. And I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know why they switched, but they kept switching. We switched 3 times when we shouldn't have switched.